Hi.
Good morning.
Hello. Where's everyone?
Duncan asked for the link, so I'm just going to send it to him. Hello.
Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Good, yeah. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad.
Good. I've just noticed we have two contrasting versions, so I'm just sewing them back together.
Hey, right. I haven't checked for the last couple of days.
Is that a full approved draft for us to look at?
Yeah, I think, yeah. We had two versions, but I have recombined them. So yeah, go ahead.
I've made a PDF version because I find if I have a Word document open and other people start editing it, I sometimes end up not knowing quite where I am. So the PDF version is presumably sort of frozen. So you keep your doc version open, Lisa, so you can be the approved guardian of any changes during the meeting. How about that?
Sounds good. Duncan, your diagram was brilliant.
Well, yours was brilliant, and it was merely a interpretation of yours. So yeah. So
it looks really good.
Yeah. Did you want something in the middle? Was that the sort of?
Yeah, but yeah. I don't know what we can draw.
Anyway.
Sorry, Lisa, I was just, so I ended up clashing with your version.
I know, I've just sewn it back together.
Oh, maybe I did as well. I was just copying what I did into what I thought was the current draft that Dennis is just reading. Can you see it?
Galaxy A5 has joined us.
I think that's Valerie. She said she
Oh, right.
has no power or internet today.
Oh no.
So we'll see if she makes it through. Sorry, Carrie Ann, I can't. What were you saying?
So I was just this very minute copying what I'd written in the draft that got saved as the bonus draft into the draft that I think is the full draft, which included some edits that I made on my iPad last night, which didn't seem to upload at all. So I don't know if that's what you can see now. So the main bit is the creating opportunities for international modelers to share ideas. And I'd like
So
unfinished sentence at the end saying, and help those with spare capacity to target their efforts in.
Lisa, did you incorporate those in your?
which paragraph? Sorry, Carrie Ann?
Creating opportunities for international modelers to share ideas.
Yeah. So, well, my version at least ends in the sentence ending in could most effectively channel efforts to reduce the impact of the virus.
Oh yeah, that's a different version.
Damn. Okay.
Just save changes to.
Can you save the changes you've just made? So the last change for me is today at 10:03, which is.
But then why don't I just copy the paragraph into chat and then you can copy it in.
Ah, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Uh,
I got the changes from, I think it was like 11:45 last night, but I don't know if you did anything, or hopefully you didn't do anything after that.
So I think I did a bit this morning.
How's the cat?
Fine. She scratched me this morning when I was trying to catch her. Well, not when I was trying to catch her, when I was trying to stuff her in the carry case. So she ended up in the back with about 20 towels in the carry case and a cat peeping out.
That is fair.
Doesn't seem to, is there a limit to how much you can put into chat? Maybe.
Apparently not. Oh, yes.
Rapidly share methods. Yeah. So that you. There. I couldn't quite, well, it's worth everyone having a read anyway. I couldn't quite get the wording on there. I wanted to say that it allowed people that weren't directly involved in policy to do useful stuff that was actually wanted. As how to phrase that, there's not. So this Ben Duncan Dennis, this was in response to Hans going on about it wasn't fair because the people in Dutch government didn't have time to talk to the academics and they all fell out. No, I don't know what happened.
Okay, I think this is now the correct version. But carry on, do check that everything is in there.
Right, I'm going to close all the versions up. Oh, right, don't save. Get the latest version.
Dennis, you're welcome to make an updated PDF if you want to.
Yes, right. So where have we got to there? Okay, so let's do that.
So, yeah, at the moment there's an unfinished sentence on mine.
Oh. Well, now we've got two versions. Oh dear.
But
Sorry. So with on the the one with the long title today at 10:12. Is that right?
To hang on.
Ending up with Kerrian's changes.
with my unfinished sentence.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, go with that one.
Okay.
I'll archive the other one.
None of these sharing things are great, are they? Because Google Docs seems to work quite well, except for I was sharing a Google Docs with somebody and it messes up some of the word formatting. So there were lots of comments about your equations are badly laid out. And it was like, not in the original Word document, they're not.
Okay. So anyway, I've made a PDF, which, as I say, is I was suggesting that the etiquette is that we all look at the PDF except Lisa, who's allowed to make
Okay.
changes during the meeting.
Have you put that? Is that PDF in the Dropbox or just?
Yeah. It's the same title, but it's PDF.
Okay. I open that.
Okay, I think we're sorted. Sorry about that. Okay, so items on the agenda for today. Discuss remaining comments, of which there aren't very many. I think we made a lot of progress over the week. See if there's anything we want to add to Duncan's wonderful diagram. And I think that's it, to be honest. So I was going to propose that after today, we each try to do a sort of own review, act as a kind of reviewer of the paper as a whole for next week. So at some point this week. And then that gives us sort of one more week to make any kind of changes.
On the that would suit me because I'm trying to draft an overall preface and introduction, and it'd be nice to just compare to see if they fit together. On the wonderful diagram, I noticed that the difference between the handwritten one and the formatted one, whatever, was that there was a numbered section 2, when to react, that's been squeezed out.
Well, actually, I wasn't supposed to draw it in the first place. I just miscounted when I originally drew.
It's much easier to divide into 360.
Yeah, no, we have 7 sections. So Duncan's is the correct one.
Yeah, I sort of quite like that, when to react as a separate thing. I mean, I suppose it would involve dividing.
Well, you started off with 1 and 2, but you merged them. So now we have 7.
I think it's my fault. Might be. Well,
Yeah, we only have
could I just put that in as an overall thought for people in looking at the thing as a whole?
Yep.
Might it be nice to divide one into the surveillance and the when to react? Because I mean, the when to react is such a crucial thing, actually. I mean, it is the thing where different governments were clearly took very different views, and 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 it is the most challenging, just because if you spend a lot of money reacting very, very quickly, and then nothing happens, people just say, "Why did you spend a lot of money?" Rather than noticing, well, actually, you saved us a year of hell and trillions of money by preventing a pandemic.
Yeah, well, I
You
didn't.
never see the pandemic. All they see is that you spent some substantial, though much smaller sum in what seemed like heavy-handed, unnecessary precautions or something, shutting down air travel across the world for a week or something like that. I feel the when to react is quite a crucial stage, but I mean, maybe, but I think if we sit back and take an overview, we might people might be coming up with suggestions for retitling or slightly reshaping some of the other sections. So probably best looked at in the context of the thing as a whole. And and the stuff is there.
Yeah.
This for a graphical abstract. Was the figure for? I missed the talks.
Introduction. Just the paper. It doesn't have a place yet.
Okay, it's not because you needed a graphical abstract. It's just.
No, I think we're voluntarily producing a graphical abstract. Okay. No one's telling us we have to.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think it's much, as Lisa said at the original sort of conversation, I think it's much easier to, show what we've done. The picture tells, well, 1,000 words type thing. So, yeah. Not telling any additional words. It's just,
Yeah, so I'm imagining that it'll probably go in the introduction or something like that.
I'll just append it to the PDF and just overwrite that PDF just with the diagram included, just for
yes,
all in the same place.
Yeah. Okay, so remaining comments. So there's nothing in 10.0 or 10.1. Kerry-Ann, do you want to start off with Hans's first comment in 10.2?
I think we've tried to address that by adding the actual paragraph on. So he was talking very focused on the Dutch situation of lack of communication and difficulties between government and academic workers, and the perception that academics were getting to publish everything and criticize from the backbenchers, I guess, and get the glory. So we've tried to address that by adding a paragraph on creating opportunities to share ideas, and I talked about the Isaac Newton programme within that as well. I don't know how many times that's been raised elsewhere in other papers, but it was written quite quickly last night, so feel free to edit. But I think that addresses what he was broadly getting at. So I think we could take that comment out from the.
Yep. How do we want to end the sentence?
Oh yeah. And I'll come up with the magical words. Because I was struggling kind of going, supporting didn't sound like, it sounded like they were giving like, there, well done. in developing understanding. No, in
Can we just say spare capacity to target their efforts in response?
yeah. Or to support the fight against the virus. Is that too dramatic?
We could just put target their efforts. Full stop.
That's true. Yeah. And let people work out what kind of efforts they were targeting. Yeah, and the problem is when you try and expand on it, you start saying in a constructive way, does that mean that people were destructive? Yes, they were, but should we be saying that? No, probably not explicitly. It can be left as a...
Yeah. Okay, so if we just end it at efforts for now, and then when we all do the read through, we can, if anybody thinks of it.
Sure, I'm sure somebody will at some point.
Okay, and then is that all for 10.2?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then the next big comments on 10.3. 10.3 doesn't have any bold headings yet.
No, sorry, I'll put them in.
Okay, Duncan, do you want to?
Yeah, so I think the main comment is SAGE the sort of best way of doing things? So we're sort of, that's the way it's been done over here, but is that the best thing? And if not, and if it is, why is that? And it's so is our view that really we're it's the independence of the modelers, the diversity of those modelers, and they're not that is that right?
Yeah, so SAGE has allowed academics and government modelers to support each other. It's been more inclusive than going. So
Yeah.
Hans is saying, well, the Dutch government just went for their government modelers.
Yeah.
UK government, well, dominated by academics, actually.
Well, exactly. I was just looking through the list here. It's all, well, I suppose they're chief scientific advisors, but most of them have an attachment for
The university.
universities. It's all
But Public Health England are kind of imperial, are they? Or they?
This was the sort of discussion we had about who they're paid to, the universities are there to have the response capability as part of their grants, I think people were saying. So therefore, yeah, but it's very much independent academics as I can see it, but how independent, I suppose you could argue if they sort of have grants.
So I guess there is a kind of question of, does the UK have adequate government funded modelling?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good point, isn't it? Because there are, where are the Public Health England modelers? And they just may be in the universities, if that makes sense. But there isn't, if you like, the government modelling department. I mean, there is the analysis function, but I don't know how much they actually get really into it. So, but yeah, generally, I think we're sort of saying independent modelers are good.
But the issue was that initially independent modelers weren't getting paid for their time. So they were relying on, so some of them were part of the large consortium that was sort of covered and had signed grants to say that they would respond to pandemics.
Yeah.
Whilst others were doing it
voluntarily, really.
Voluntarily, and I guess in the potential hope, and it has panned out for a lot of them, have got big grants now, but that wasn't a guaranteed outcome.
Mm-hmm.
So
So,
that's not a great model to expect people to do it for free, I guess.
well, and also kind of you then question the independence, right? If you're then thinking, well, only if I behave in a certain way am I going to get a grant, then you probably behave in a certain way.
And we did have the various groups. What's the anti-SAGE group? Independent SAGE.
Yeah,
And say that SAGE was rubbish because they weren't independent enough.
right.
So there's a loud voice that says SAGE were all following a single story.
Yeah, and I suppose it's I suppose there's a difference between the members of SAGE and the way the science advice is communicated. So, and I think that was really, if we're looking back a year today, there's the sort of view that the independent modelers were saying one thing, but it was being communicated by the civil servants in a different way. But still, those sort of, and there was that learning thing about the independent advice wasn't really published. And probably SAGE members felt it was sensitive, so they weren't able to speak out. So therefore, it was all mediated through the sort of government. I think that's probably changed now, but there was that sort of early communication thing. So it's probably defining, I suppose, as I say, the risk is that you behave in a certain way because you are part of this organisation that restricts your your ability to speak.
Yeah.
So any other sort of insights from overseas about what works well? That's from that sort of overseas advice, but I think that's, there's a thing about different sides of modelers.
So we've only got Hans, who's
Yeah.
non-UK, to speak out on their issues. I've no idea about America. It's such a large country that nobody can really pin down.
And also that was going through an interesting time as well in terms of scientific advice.
Yeah, politically. And then Australia, again, there are people that we could ask who were active, who could tell us whether they were active in our consortium because they weren't getting heard by their governments or because they are actually. So Australia and New Zealand, are they working as quite a tight team, or was there internal competition that we're not aware of because it's all unspoken?
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm afraid I'm going to have to go because I've got students again. But this is the last week of term. So.
Thanks, Kieran.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.
And then going on to Graham Medley's comment about if there's a distinction between the trust between modelers and policy makers. So this was basically when there are two groups of policymakers and two groups of modelers who are saying different things. How do you sort of arbitrate between those? I suppose it's really just to be aware that that's an issue. And the other comment was about the interactions between embedding modelers into science. And so the structure about how SPIAM, SAGE, Government Office for Science is, so I suppose my thoughts are it's bureaucratic. It's set up as a bureaucratic hierarchy, and maybe there should be more connections between groups, but it appears though that has evolved over time. So, but it's not structured like that. But I think in practice it probably is like that. And you said there were you mentioned about John Aston, sorry.
Yes. So first I spoke with Frank Kelly, who was Chief Scientific Advisor a few years ago. And he was very much pushing for, I guess, stronger collaborations sort of between those in government and those researchers outside, more so than trying to embed modelers in policy units or sort of bring more people in. his sort of argument was that changing the sort of existing structure is a very big thing.
Yeah.
It will take a very long time. But what we can do is have really strong connections with academics, researchers outside of government,
Mhm.
which progress is being made on, and henceforth, so that you can pick up the phone when you need to get in touch with the right person, without having to sort of fundamentally change the structures. And then Frank's other point was that he was CSA a long time ago, so he doesn't have the most up-to-date view, but he's put me in touch with another CSA who's at Cambridge. There seem to be a lot, called John Aston, who I'm speaking with this afternoon.
Okay.
And he's just finished as Chief Scientific Advisor to the Home Office, I think a couple of months ago. So the good thing about John is that he was in government during the pandemic, or at least at least most of the pandemic, and is now out of government, so can hopefully talk about things. So he's going to chat to myself and also Chris, because he's going to give some feedback on Section 7 this afternoon. Try to give us some ideas of what he feels could be done, sort of is achievable. Yeah.
Great.
So my suggestion was if you just wanted to leave that comment in for now, and then I can
fine. Okay.
feedback following the meeting and see if
Great.
see if John agrees with Frank, and then
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, feel free to put some text in there. Yeah. With the other ones, what's the next version of this document looking like? Are we all going through it basically? Is that the sort of?
I was thinking that we. So what we did in the modelling paper that was useful was each person acted as a sort of independent reviewer, to sort of looked at the whole paper and gave feedback, and then one person combined the feedback. So that's what I was.
Yeah, no, that sounds a good idea.
I think we've got Valerie back. That's what I was sort of intending for the next week, and then that gives us kind of one final week to.
So effectively, we all review the entire paper.
That's what I was suggesting.
Yeah,
but,
sounds good.
I'm not sure what other options there are, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think the small group sessions were quite useful. Certainly, the ones on Wednesday we got a lot done actually. Yeah.
I actually have to leave. I'm sorry. So
That's all right.
I actually have to leave. So there's a sort of average number of people sort of in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, so I can delete the first two comments and leave the last one.
So yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Duncan.
Great, thank you. And if there are any comments on the diagram as well, just let me know, and I'll alter the diagram for next time as well. Yeah, great. See you.
Hello, Valerie.
Hi, apologies for all that. I'll sort it another time, but I was trying to use my phone, but I couldn't get any sound on my phone. I don't know why. I could see you all perfectly, and your mouths were moving. Anyway, they brought back power for a little bit. So till I take off again, I'm all right.
So we've had a very tight turnaround. We are now up to 10.4. We're just going through the remaining comments.
Good.
So the latest version is the one that says Kerry Ann's changes at the end.
Yeah.
And
Dennis
has made a PDF if you want to look at that version instead.
No, this is fine. I can see this because anyway, so this is all right.
So no comments on 10.4. And then one comment on 10.5.
This is the one that looked like it was on 10.6, but when we chatted on Wednesday, it seemed it was more relevant to 10.5. I mean, it seems like
Yeah.
a lot of those comments have kind of been discussed in other papers, and maybe he's highlighting them here because this is the first paper he's actually had a look at. But there's definitely discussion of this in interventions, in modelling,
Okay.
estimation to a degree as well. Now, if we want, we could put a bit of a reference to it here, but they're combining the different aspects of society and different compartments in the model to allow these interactions.
Okay, so perhaps when I say broadening the modelling to include social and economic factors could bring in new perspectives, that would probably be a good point to cross-reference.
Yeah, I would think so.
Which ones did you just say, Ben? Interventions.
Interventions, modelling, and estimation, I think.
Interventions is 7, isn't it?
Four.
No, sorry.
4.
Interventions is 4. Estimation is 7.
7,
So it's 4, 6,
Yeah.
and 7.
And then I'm inclined to say we don't need to write much else on this comment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then 10.6.
Don't think there's any remaining comments on that. There weren't many comments at all, so I don't know if you want to talk to John about that this afternoon, because he might have some
Oh, okay.
more
Okay.
comments.
Yeah, I can bring that
I'm
up.
not sure whether there wasn't any comments because there
It was
wasn't
towards the
anything.
end.
Yeah, or whether it's just similar to Chris's that there wasn't
Yeah.
much left. to say.
Yeah. Okay. I can bring that up.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, John said he had some comments he'd like to make on other sections of the paper, so
Yeah.
I can ask as well. 6, yeah. And then I was inclined to just sort of leave 10.7 as it is until Chris and myself have spoken with John.
Yeah, that seems sensible.
So I'm not sure Chris has seen the comments either. So I think I'll just leave them for now. And then we just have the conclusion, which we haven't spoken about much. So first comment in the conclusion. Do we feel we have now become trusted advisors?
I guess you need to ask the people who are actively involved.
Yeah.
Um,
Fair point.
but this point about issues that need to be addressed to keep us at the table is an important one. I mean, even if people do feel they're trusted now, it's a question of maintaining those contacts, isn't it? And keeping things going.
I feel I don't know the answer to lots of these questions.
Could be something to discuss with John as well, I guess, from an inside perspective, whether he feels that modelers were trusted. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Let's leave that one in for now then. And then Chris Dye. This was his sort of overall comment. Much has been said about what should be done, much less about how. But I think that's rooted in
one of the aspects of a challenges paper is you kind of point out what the challenges are. If you knew how to solve it, it probably would already have been
a very much longer project.
We could make some recommendations, I guess. But... Well, yeah, we sort of are in the conclusions.
Yeah, I mean the next paragraph.
Next paragraph, yeah.
Yeah. I think, yeah, considering it's a challenge paper, this is probably the best ratio we can manage between challenges and recommendations. Okay, and then Chris's next comment about no two pandemics will be identical. We could just add a sentence or so, or phrase.
I guess, I mean, the details will be different, but a lot of the underlying planning presumably is sort of common, whatever, in terms of maintaining structures and so on. I mean, it's what we've been saying, really. So we need something that's flexible, but there. I sort of think we've said it.
I mean, yeah, I feel like structures for threat scanning, modeling, and policy response are the commonalities.
Yeah.
Do we think we need to add?
I'm not sure what one could say, really, to be honest. I suppose, I mean, perhaps he's focusing particularly on the lack of them being identical, because the next sentence would apply even if they were identical. So is there anything that one can add in terms of being, I don't know, prepared to cover a range of different mechanisms and possible source types of infection and sources? It seems sort of obvious, really.
or flexible to adapt to
Yeah,
specificities of the pandemic.
sort of.
So sort of having the formal structures in place, but then being able to adapt those
Exactly.
depending on.
And having a fairly open mind about what the cause might be in any particular case, or what the pathogen might be.
Yeah.
So could we add a sentence in between?
Or at the end, after the structures sentence. You see something
okay.
like sort of I forget, we've dropped in various words that ought to be in there, like flexibility and adaptable, and not quite sure how to say it.
Preparation should be flexible and adaptable.
Yeah. Something about well, both modelers and policymakers should be open-minded as to the the form that a new pandemic might take. And one could put Chris's recognizing the commonalities bit. I mean, one could actually make that explicit, I suppose, by saying, that with your structures for threat scanning, etc., etc.
So we could just follow the structure sentence with a solution is to recognize the commonalities between pandemics rather than the differences, or just a solution is to recognize the commonalities.
I might put that after the first sentence, actually.
Yeah.
So
Or common
preparing.
infrastructures would allow for rapid response to a generic pandemic, but flexibility or adaptability would be needed to mold to the specific.
Oh, that's good, Ben. Capture that.
Say that again.
Yeah, do I should just say it again. I've got it open, so I can maybe type it straight in if that's.
Yeah, go for that. Yeah, you do.
that seems to be conflicted. Which is the version that you're editing?
The one with entitled Carrie Ann's Changes.
Okay, yeah, it seems to have gone in there. Oh no, it hasn't. Not the full thing.
Something seems to have happened in the version I'm looking at.
It's still uploading, that's fine. Sorry, Dropbox is being really slow this morning.
So what have you put there?
I'm just going to try the online version. Okay, it seems to be on the online version now.
What's the time?
Mine's updated now.
Yeah, it worked on the online version. The
Oh.
desktop version wasn't working.
Yeah.
So there's one edited at 10:53 and one edited just now.
Yeah, I've got one that Ben edited 15 seconds ago, it says. So I assume that's it.
Great, thanks, Ben.
Okay, no problem. But feel free to make changes if it's not quite what you want.
It's like, sorry, it's slightly odd to say preparing for this uncertainty. Because we've got the timing is uncertain, but the fact that they will occur is certain. And no two pandemics will be identical. So maybe we should just delete uncertainty there and just say preparing for this. because it's sort of, I don't know, maybe it would help.
Oh, preparing for this is essential. Yep.
Yeah.
And then do we still want the sentence that we tagged on at the end of this paragraph? One should be open-minded, or have we already sort of said that now?
No, I didn't say that. Well, I said about adaptability and flexibility, but I think it would be useful to say that explicitly, that it's not just the response, but also the scientists need to be open-minded as well.
Yeah. And then in the middle of this paragraph.
Perhaps it shouldn't be one, though.
Okay. Yep.
Since everything else has been written in a
Yeah, that's true.
form. You could just say it's essential to be open-minded, or something like that. It's essential to be open-minded as to the form that the new pandemic might take.
And then I've just noticed that we have the word established twice in the sentence before.
Right.
Facilitated, maybe, for the second one.
Yeah. Nice. Remember how to spell. Great. Okay. And then we just have a final comment from Frank. I don't think we can really add anything in. I think this is more of an anecdote.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so it's just Hans's comment, which I can probably answer after speaking to John, and then the comments that we've left on 10.7.
Yeah.
That's it.
A couple of things. Excuse me. Actually, in the last paragraph of the conclusions, modelling and science have become central.
Yeah.
And then we've got a we. We've got a couple of we's in that.
Yeah, I think I keep writing we when I shouldn't.
Well, we've really got to decide which way you're playing these things, I suppose. But since most of it's impersonal, I mean, you could say how modelers use this newly found prominent.
Yep.
And then I suppose so that they are able to contribute.
Yeah.
Oh, do we think we've almost got a whole paper?
Oh dear, there are 14 places in which we use the word we, so I'll go through it.
Oh, okay, right. Well,
I'll do that after.
Maybe. Oh, look in that. Well, you may have removed it in the third paragraph of the conclusions, last sentence. There's a repetition of be.
Conclusion.
It's essential to be open-minded.
Yes, I think I've just removed
it
that.
out.
Yeah. I think that's updated. Yeah. Great. I think Well done.
Good, good.
Excellent.
Brilliant. I don't know if we just want to spend 2 minutes thinking about the diagram.
Is that in the Dropbox or just in Chris's, Duncan's email?
It's in
Yeah,
the
so it's in the
Dropbox.
Dropbox. If you click on
Okay.
the folder overview picture,
Right.
and then
Oh, yes. Okay.
yeah, and then
Got it.
this one this morning.
Yeah.
I'm really pleased with how it's turned out, actually.
Looks really nice, yeah.
Well, I'm impressed that you managed to get 7ths of the circle.
Yes. That was a bit of a challenge, wasn't it?
Yeah. Duncan was not very pleased that when I told him that there were definitely 7, not 8. So I think just a very small point is that we should probably have lowercase letters where we have capitals on this, the modeling challenges and the change.
You mean just have
Incorporation.
the initial capital,
Yeah,
Yeah,
but not the subsequent? Yeah,
just so it's consistent across all of the boxes.
yeah.
and then I really like the icons.
Yes, what's the coat hanger? I mean, it obviously isn't a coat hanger, but what is it in technical modelling challenges? I was wondering what the little
Coat hanger.
Well, I don't know what it is. It looks a bit like a coat hanger. I don't know what those symbols are. I mean, you've got the usual sort of settings one,
Yeah.
but what
Um,
are the other two?
Isn't that a person with like a hard hat on?
Yeah,
I Oh, it
And
could
then
be.
like the shoulders beneath. I don't
Oh,
know.
okay. So that's the body of the person, is it?
Yeah, I think it's like a
Yeah.
technician dealing with
Oh, I see. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
settings or something. I don't know.
All right.
I managed to find, looking on the web link that Duncan gave, there was a sort of more general, I guess, wrench and screw type one.
Hmm. I think I don't know why I sort of found that one little bit odd, but I think because, you've got the similar thing in the integration of modelers one. You've got another similar sort of thing. And perhaps it's that the settings symbols are a bit close or something. It looks like 4 symbols rather than.
Would it be better to have something, a sort of little fragment of network, half a dozen nodes with a few links between them or something, possibly with arrows pointing to each other? I think my overall comment is I'm not quite sure about the value of the figure unless we can think of something to go in the middle that sort of pulls it together, or.
You had something in yours, didn't you, Lisa, originally? Did I dream that?
We talked about drawing something, but I think we
Oh,
decided we
okay.
couldn't draw it. So we talked about a little cartoon sketch of an epidemiologist and a politician both looking through sort of a different lens or something.
Actually, I've just had a thought which you may or may not like, which is the the way it's done at the moment, it's almost like a model of a coronavirus. Couldn't we make it look much more like one? I mean, if you could, you've got the sort of things coming off at the sides with the little sort of florets or whatever. Perhaps you would have to perhaps you'd have to make the, yeah, I'm not quite sure how you have, whether you could work the wording into that. But I just think there must be a way of turning this circle into a coronavirus.
But we're not just dealing with the coronavirus.
Well, I know we're not, so but it would.
It's tempting.
So I suppose one could have a picture of a few different pathogens in the middle, or
Yeah.
or a network, or I don't know.
What would a network look like? Like a web.
Mm. Yeah, I'm not sure it's a very good idea, actually. Because again, it presupposes a particular sort of mode of contacts, doesn't it?
The website of icons has a coronavirus icon, but it doesn't appear to have any other pathogens. Well, it has a bug.
Perhaps just leave that one as a challenge for people to think about.
Okay. Yeah, we can come back to it. Okay, that can be part of the review process. But I think that's everything, really.
Good
So
timing.
we can leave it there.
Yep.
So I'll see if I can, if Chris and myself can add in some more bits following our call with John in the next day or two, and then send the paper around for internal review.
Final.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
Does, yeah.
And then aim to do that by next week, or as much as people are able. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
thanks.
Bye.
Then, bye.
Do